Well, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Livingston. I am head of marketing at Gideon Taylor and new to the organization and excited to be a part of this today. Also, a rookie presenter, rookie host. So if things crash, it's on me, and if it goes well, it's in spite of me. But just really looking forward to having a chance to introduce you to some exciting things or answer some of your questions today as we share some really uh, up to date, cutting edge information on automation and e-forms and just a lot of other really powerful resources. So we're going to jump right in. Let me share my screen, and I'll kind of run our slide deck today. And at any point, please feel free to drop questions in. We will have some time at the end to give you a chance to respond, to share things that are on your mind, and hopefully we will respond to those. So with that, let us get underway. So today we're going to talk, as I said, about some powerful ways to help you boost your ROI using some cutting edge tools that we at Gideon Taylor and our sister companies Newberry Enterprise and Intrasea have been building and working on for a long time to help you. And so to introduce you, we have I'm excited today to introduce you that we have our CEO and founder Paul Taylor. We'll hear first from him, and then he'll be followed by Jeff Robbins, who is our Director of Strategic Initiatives for Newberry. And then last but not least, Andrew Badiz, who is our founder and Managing Director of Intrasea. So what we want to do today is really just overview the current state of ERP and how to calculate and figure out ROI in that space, and talk about what the cost is of not moving forward with some of those tools. And that's going to be, I think, a very informative and helpful thing for you as you're here today to try to figure out what do I do? When's the right moment for me to move forward? I've got a lot of pressure on my budget and resources. How do I figure out how to do that? So we hopefully can present some helpful things to you in that regard. Talking about e-forms and how those can actually help reduce cost and increase efficiency and optimize your systems and processes and reduce your stress, which is always something we're about. RPA, robotic process automation, and talking a lot about what that is and how it's transforming so many organizations, certainly many of yours, and how you can integrate it even further. And then some really fun things relating to artificial intelligence, digital assistants, chatbots is what those are more commonly known as, but you're going to find out there's a whole lot more to that today. So with all that, let's get started. Just real quickly, to just introduce those who may not be familiar with us, Gideon Taylor has been around for 2 decades. We founded in 2001. We're based in American Fork, Utah. And really kind of, there's a lot on this slide. I'm not going to go into all of it, but in essence, what you need to know is that statement there in the middle there, build, grow, serve, is really what drives us as an organization to help you just do your work better, more efficiently, with greater success, and get you to the goals that you're focused on. So with that introduction, I think it's time to turn our slides and our show over to our CEO, Paul Taylor. Oh, one more thing, just quickly, introduce you, just maybe quickly highlighting some of the organizations we work, the hundreds of organizations we work with. Some of you might be here with us today, and if so, welcome. We're in higher ed, and we understand a lot of you are in that space, but we also work significantly with a lot of government and other business organizations. Again, very much driven to help these folks succeed and achieve their goals. So I think I can now give the time back to Paul. Mr. Taylor, take it away.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Appreciate the introduction. Someone said they wish they had good AC where they are. We'll go ahead and make some available at the end of the session here for download. So just look for the link, and we'll get you some better AC if you're suffering in the heat. So just a quick, where are we on the map here? In the state of the current ERP space, a couple of observations. First off, that this is a time of extended disruption in the ERP space, meaning that things have been changing for a long time, and that change has left our system spread over a lot of time. We have a lot of different levels of adoption of the current technology across the ERP client base. So some of you are going to be, some of you are still running on classic look and feel in PeopleSoft. Some of you are using Fluid. Some of you are contemplating turning on chatbots. We're spread across all sorts of things. Even within one implementation, you'll have some of your users that are seeing really well optimized, very purpose-focused user interfaces, while others still feel like they're in the 90s. So lots of extended disruption. A lot of that disruption also is lined up along the question of cloud and SaaS, and where do you sit in terms of that wave that's been rolling through the ERP space. And so it's kind of like this, well, maybe slow motion train wreck isn't the right phrase, but it's a slow wave that's moving and sloshing back and forth across the space. You have one of the things that we hear a lot in the PeopleSoft space is people will be talking about PeopleSoft as a legacy software. And there's some extent to which that may be an apt description, but it's not acting like a typical legacy software. I'm talking to the second bullet here. There is typically in a legacy situation, innovation and feature set growth slows down, and that hasn't been the case. We're seeing more and more features roll out. It adds to that extended disruption, because now you're looking and saying, okay, well, gosh, what should we be doing with Kibana? What should we be doing with Picasso, with chat? What should we be doing with the new things that are coming out in 8.6 with upgraded search architecture and such forth? Lots of possibilities that help to extend the extended disruption. And really, it leaves all of us behind as clients in one way or another, and trying to decide what to adopt next, trying to decide if to adopt next. And the fact that SaaS is in that extended disruption leaves a lot of clients saying, okay, well, if we are going to move to SaaS, should I be investing in bringing up these new features and these new capabilities in PeopleSoft, or should I just wait and see where I end up? And that's one of the main things that we're looking to answer in this, or to give some food for thought to in this session, is, do you just wait and see what happens? And what's the cost of just waiting rather than uptaking new functionality on the platform that you're currently on? Okay, next slide. So part of the equation to help answer that question of what should we do and when should we do it is calculating return on investment. So return on investment has obviously the meaning is what value did you get out of an initiative or a feature that you implemented, and it's supposed to be a decision-making tool. So we look forward and we say, this is the ROI that I think we're going to get out of this effort, and what does that how does that inform my decision of if or when to do it, or what to do out of multiple options. So there are multiple factors that you can consider part of return on investment. One of those is, and Scott, you got back up just a little bit here. Let me hit one at a time. Thanks. So the most obvious one when you're thinking about ROI is increased direct revenue. Now, we took a little peek at who's on the webinar here. Most of you are in higher ed. And so most of you probably don't think a lot about direct revenue. How do we, what features are we going to implement in PeopleSoft that will result in more money? That's more of a commercial mindset, but there are many other components to that. So increased direct revenue would be if you implemented a feature that actually increased production of a revenue generating asset, and that's typically not what we're looking at in the ERP space. So go ahead and hit the next one, Scott. You do have going the other direction. There we go. So decreased direct expense is what's more likely. So for example, if you cut down on resource usage by implementing an electronic form, you don't have to pay for the paper cost, right? A lot of times though, you have to think broadly to think about what that impact really is. The paper savings, as far as cost goes, usually not that great. Not that much. What is more expensive in direct expenses is space, and you can have a direct. You can actually reduce the cost of your heating bills just by not having as many filing cabinets around, and you can of course decrease the need to build new buildings if you have more room for people and less room for paper. Go ahead and hit the next one. So where it really comes into play, though, is in the time savings. So if you change a business process and you take out you take something that took a person an hour and now it takes them 15 minutes, that is a very direct impact on ROI. We should be looking and saying, oh, how much does that, what's the total comp rate for that person? And what does 45 minutes of their time cost? Because I just freed that up. And then you want to look at that for everyone who's involved in a business process that you improve. Next one. And then you can also look beyond that. You can start with, all right, we get that 45 minutes of their time. We start with that value, but then you can add to that and say, well, what are they going to do instead? And what's the value difference between them working on this menial business process or them doing this typically higher dollar thing that we've wanted them to do, but they haven't had time to do? So that can then be added into your ROI calculation, that we actually improved the value of their time by having them do something that was of higher value to the organization. Okay, next one. The increased indirect revenue. Here's where, with ROI calculations, one thing to remember, even though we're talking about addition, we're talking about math, we're talking about dollars, which seems like a hard calculation that we should be able to get an exact number on. It really isn't that way. ROI is a way we kind of pick the way that we're going to talk about the value of something and equate it to dollars. But that can be somewhat of a fuzzy and value-based decision. For example, you can't ignore the fact that if you improve your student experience, you're going to increase enrollment and you're going to increase retention, and that's going to impact revenue. So you don't want to ignore it, but how do you measure it? Well, you'll have to estimate. You'll have to say, how much do we think we're impacting retention and enrollment by doing this investment? And you may be able to back into proving some of those numbers out when you get numbers down the road, but really you're never going to be able to prove that. You're just going to have to be able to help with the decision-making process to come up with a number that is defensible and that is imaginable and feasible and that makes sense, so that you are looking at all aspects of the decision and bringing that down to a dollar amount that people can talk about and make decisions on the basis of. Next one, decreased indirect expense. So we can say, all right, for example, we're going to be talking about digital assistants. When we make a digital assistant available to the student population, if it does a lot of things for them that a digital assistant can do, it will reduce the need to grow the help staff who would typically be answering those questions. So you may not be laying anybody off, but you may be able to slow future growth and maybe even reduce the size of that team by attrition. So the people that you don't have to hire in the future become part of that ROI. Okay, so those are all various components you can include in an ROI calc. Let's practice. Okay, so here we're answering another question. When you determine the ROI of something, you get the question then of, all right, that helps us prioritize what we're going to do, but when should we do it? And this comes back to, well, should we do it in PeopleSoft, or should we wait 5 years and see if we move to another platform? So let's do a little bit of an example here. Let's say that feature X is going to cost $80,000 and it's going to take 3 months to implement. Let me see if I can kick off our first question here, and we'll see how our math is here. So if you should have an open poll question now. If you start the project on May 1st, when will the ROI break even with the cost?
Paul, I think Scott needs to advance one more click on the slide to show one more piece of data. There you go.
There you go. Oh, thank you. Yep, we were missing that. Yes, so the calculated monthly ROI of having it in production is $10,000 a month, right? So the question is then, when will if you start on May 1st, when will the ROI of that $10,000 a month break even with the cost? We've got some good respondents here. We still have some responses coming in. We'll give you 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, end poll. Okay, so and here are the results. So we've got 55% of you said January 1st, and that is 8 months from the time of the project start. But remember that you don't actually start getting ROI until you've implemented. So you have to add 3 months to that. That makes April 1st the correct answer. So it's 3 months of the project plus 8 months in production. So after 8 months in production, we'll have broken even on the cost of the feature. Okay, very good. Here comes the next question. What is the 5-year ROI of, let's see here, how do I get to my next? Okay, I got it here. Okay, question 2. What is the 5-year ROI from production launch? So when we do launch it, how much, what is our return on investment after 5 years? We've got some responses coming in. Give people a little more time to answer. And we'll cut it off in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End poll. Okay, so, and sharing the results. Most of you said 520,000, and that is the correct answer, because we're earning we're saving $10,000 a month. We have a return of $10,000 a month for 5 years. That's 60 months, so that's 600,000. But the project cost $80,000, so we have to subtract that from the 600,000. That gives us 520,000. Okay, we're getting good at this. Next question, last question. What is the relative cost of waiting to start the project until December 1st? So, gosh, calendar is busy. We've got a lot of things to do. We would like to have this feature, but let's wait and start the project on December instead, and December 1st. And, you know, because we've got all that time over Christmas break to work on it, right? So yeah, what is the relative cost of that choice of putting off that start from May 1st to December 1st? And we've got a few answers rolling in. We'll give you a few more seconds to participate. We've got some back and forth going on here. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ending the poll. And here are the answers. The correct answer wins again. It's 70,000. So basically, we just take how many months are there from May, the 5th month, to December, the 12th month. That's 7 months you're waiting, and that's $10,000 a month you never get back. That you spend $70,000 to make that decision to put off that feature. Now, of course, you might maybe you offset that by doing something more valuable, by implementing a feature with better ROI. But we should always be aware of the cost of not implementing new features, because you don't get that return on investment until they're in production. And that should really inform questions about, well, should I wait until we're on this new platform? Because if you're doing features that really do have a decent ROI, they're paying for themselves before these changes happen. And there is a big cost of waiting. If you think maybe we'll be moving platforms in 3 to 5 years, and so we don't want to uptake new features for 3 to 5 years, and then that project is going to take 1 to 3 years, and then we're going to have projects just to try to catch up, and then we're going to start thinking about adding new features after that. You might be 8-10 years down the road before you get back to this feature that you could have been saving or earning money on. You could be getting a return on that investment during all that time.
Intrasea and Newberry Enterprise Services are now part of the Gideon Taylor team. With each partner adding a unique power-up to your PeopleSoft system, you can now level up your outdated system in a snap. Say goodbye to costly development or trying to manage hundreds of custom mods, And hello to configurable e-forms and helpful robots that keep your ERP systems vanilla. Configure custom fluid solutions and cut development times in half with GTE forms. GTE forms enables pre-population, conditional behavior, dynamic routing, automatic updates to PeopleSoft components, and much more. IDA, Intrasee's digital assistant, uses conversational AI to engage your users in natural language interactions. IDA can answer hundreds of self-service questions by employees, managers, students, and academic staff. IDA can personalize its answers to the user while integrating multiple enterprise systems. While Intrasee is bringing the chatbots, the Newberry team brings the UiPath bots. They're great at entering thousands of rows of data or deciphering content from incoming emails. Your bots work around the clock, automating workloads and freeing up staff members for more important tasks. Also, as a full-service PeopleSoft consultancy, Newberry has the expertise you need to tackle any PeopleSoft initiative, from always current services to new implementations. The robot invasion has begun, but don't worry, these are the good kind. Give your ERP a voice and futurize your organization with Gideon Taylor.
Go ahead and hit next slide here for e-forms. So here is a quick example of an electronic form process. If you'll hit play on that video, Scott. This is an HR process that we built using GTE forms that aims to really simplify an electronic personnel action form process, or many personnel action form processes. So this is, for example, a student hire process, and we built out this form using configuration for the most part, and that configuration can be really complex. It can pull in existing data. So functional analysts can populate new pages like this with data out of PeopleSoft without having to use technical resources to do it. We can also have that data form lookups, like we'll see here on these fields. So we can also add logic statements that help us to curate the data on the way in. So it's going to be much smarter. There are going to be many fewer opportunities to make mistakes than if we're starting these kinds of transactions on PDFs or through emails, or heaven forbid, on paper forms. So by using this electronic form, we can gather the information, curate it, have it approved by multiple approvers before it becomes active in the PeopleSoft pages. You'll see there that we can also have conditional behavior, like fields that change, that hide and unhide based on the values of other fields. Like we got different hour or different fields for hourly employees than we had for salaried employees. And we can have multiple rows, so we can do grid rows. We can do drill downs here. Going to go do a lookup on a chart string, and all of this. Really, we talk about this as an electronic form. Really, it's a custom self-service application. It's built on a form concept because there's a unique identifier for each of these transactions. But it's really custom self-service applications that have tons of features, including built-in logic engine, built-in workflow, the ability to manage attachments like you just saw, and to include dynamically the right people in the approval process so that you get the signatures you need, you get the decisions you need to make, and then these forms automatically integrate with the back-end PeopleSoft screens. So instead of people having to come in and deal with the delivered pages, they deal with a form that is set up especially for their business process, and then that form, like a robot, fills in all of these delivered pages on the back end to accomplish all the transactions that would have been done by hand by a specialist after they got the PDF forms. So if you think about any time that you've got people typing things off of a PDF or out of an email into PeopleSoft screens, those are opportunities for ROI. Those are opportunities where automation could transform that experience. And we've seen many, many transformational experiences with our clients where entire teams have gone from spending the vast bulk of their time dealing with these transactions to it being a small fraction of their time, freeing up lots of opportunity to pursue higher value initiatives. Okay, next screen there. Just a few of those examples. We really love to see results like this, a 700% efficiency increase, where they got done in 1 hour as much as they were accomplishing an entire day before we built this process for them. Reducing turnaround time, decreasing total human effort. That 75% decrease in total human effort was across 800 people. That was a massive return on investment. That if you look at the bottom one, they calculated at $300,000 a year that they have been saving for a couple of decades now. So reducing error rates, you think about how much time you spend going back and forth trying to resolve one error, trying to get what value were they actually trying to put in on this PDF. If that gets fixed at the beginning by curating the data, by doing valid value checks, that's a huge impact on the ROI, on the time that you have to spend accomplishing these things. So go ahead and hit the next slide here. That winds up, so consider electronic forms, workflow. We're not the only ones that provide that. We think we're the best. But let's hand things over to Jeff Robbins to talk about how RPA can impact ROI. Lots of abbreviations there.
Thanks, Paul. And so much of what Paul's been talking about, first of all, as we began the conversation, the return on investment and the planning and the kind of the calculating, where is the benefit going to come from? So much of that really is not just about the dollars that we're spending or the dollars that we're gaining, reducing expenses or increasing income. It's also, of course, like Paul was saying, how do we improve efficiency? And maybe the investment that we think about is an investment of the energy that your people are putting in. And so some of what we're introducing are, what tools can you have in your belt that if you had them in your belt would have the process be more efficient if you could use a tool or something. And so when I get into RPA, I really am talking about how can technology be incorporated into your process that really does allow for the investment of energy in completing a process to be reduced so that there is improved value. So let's just start at the beginning. What is RPA? Robotic process automation has been around for a number of years, and we've probably all been talking about it together over the course of the last decade or so. But it's technology that really has been evolving, leveraging some technology enhancements and so on, but it makes it very easy to build and then obviously incorporate into your process within your business, to build what we call software robots that really are the kind, and the reason we call it software robots is because there's another option that you could build some software. You can, like we know inside PeopleSoft, you can actually do custom, app engine stuff. We can do custom batch processes and so on. Well, the reason we were talking about robotic automation is that we actually can use this new technology to start automating what has historically been a very human interaction with some of these systems, like ERP systems. So how can we take advantage of artificial intelligence to make these kinds of things not just be batch processes that happen to load data from a flat file into your environment, but how do we incorporate software to start taking advantage of the analysis or the interactions with the systems that your people do? So we're looking at how can we discover where in your current processes from end to end, step A through step B through step C, that will have your people and the energy that they're investing improve the time to completion, that your people can be more creative and be more collaborative with each other, so that we can take advantage of what a human brings to the party, so that we're not just focusing on the software side and improving accuracy and so on. So all of those metrics really do factor into the return on the investment, or the value that your company will get out of using this kind of software. So let's go ahead and, thanks, Scott, move to the next slide. Newberry Enterprise, Gideon Taylor, we use software, different types of software to automate business process. One of the components that is in the RPA world is UiPath software platform that really is a very, very strong and robust and current, in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence, platform of software that allows us to build, or you, our customer, it allows all of us to build software robots that really do behave and work with stuff in the system and data in the system to go step by step through a process, analyze the information that it's discovering on this step of the process, and then make decisions or do the data entry or something like that. So robotic automation will interact with your systems like PeopleSoft, will actually take data that may, what do your people do? So let's break down a very simplistic. Maybe they get an email that says, from a student that says, I want to do this. Can I apply for this or something? Well, you have your people look at that email, check them out in PeopleSoft, make a decision based on the data that we see, and then maybe approve or deny. So that very simplistic process is something that perhaps a bot can do to take advantage of the data and not have your people be stuck having to answer all these emails all the time. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Here's an example of, and we've all seen these kinds of process flow diagrams, and you probably can't read much of this, but when we start to dig into a process, we really often understand that there are quite a lot of people involved. So in this particular case, we've got the contract administrator, we've got the customer interaction, we've got the billing specialist and the financial administrator doing step-by-step processes or tasks through a process to make sure that all the data is entered, all of the rules or protocol within the company are followed, and the decision is made. So go ahead and click the button and it'll build some things. So what we've highlighted here with these little red bots are, where are humans interacting in this process, and what decisions are they making, and where do they pass it on to the next thing? And so what we're calculating in, as we're talking about here, the return on the investment. What is the energy being invested in making sure that this process is completed? Well, what we tend to discover is that in a complex process like this, the time spent by humans analyzing the data and making decisions and moving it forward tends to be fairly high in a complex process like this. So let's go ahead and click the next button. We can incorporate robots, and it might be to do a simple step within this process, or multiple steps within the process, or just upload the data and get it into the system. But the percent of time analyzing where humans have to be involved really does go down tremendously. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Go ahead and hit the next. Robotic automation is incorporating this technology in an effective way to deliver valuable results. Sometimes let's use dollars. In this case, you can see over here on the right-hand side The cost of implementing is that green bar of each of these bars. The cost of implementing can be relatively low using robotic automation. And the impact when it's monetized can be very, very high. But monetizing isn't the only way to do it using these bots. The delivered ROI can produce valuable returns in terms of time to completion or reduction of errors. And to some case, we have to monetize those things. But having your people be engaged in more effective and more valuable tasks, or more rewarding work, or just getting more done on a day-to-day basis, that's where we really see the very valuable impact of incorporating robotic automation into existing business processes. So how do we optimize a process? We identify what can be done in what is currently being very repetitive or tedious, done by humans, that we can actually have software do for us instead of the humans, or interact with the people on your team so that your people can be freed up or do things very quick. And so those are the kinds of things that this software as a tool in your belt can be incorporated into how you do things in your business to have your people be more effective, but also be more satisfied. I think that is a pretty good introduction to the what RPA is. This is an example, and I don't think we need to go through, because I've been talking a little bit, Scott, but we don't need to go through this video. But you can see a lot of times the software is this huge batch of information. Well, when your people has to look through this sheet and work through all this data, that can be very tedious and cumbersome. But a bot can walk through this, pull the data out of the Excel spreadsheet, look it up in a browser in Google if you have to check to verify the accuracy, and then log into PeopleSoft system and enter the data into the system. So in that case, that's an example of how a bot will work. And I think we'll hand off to Andrew as the next speaker. Thank you.
All right, Jeff. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm going to try to do this in 10 minutes. So I'm going to go fast and furious. I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. So let's get right into it, Scott. A couple slides, then we're going to demo. IDA, it's a brand name for our digital assistant. It does a ton of stuff. It actually runs in Oracle Cloud. It's using Oracle Digital Assistants, and it's meant to be a one-stop shop across your entire organization. It's not only PeopleSoft scenarios. It's really meant to answer any user question that they have. We want to automate those things. We want them 24/7, over 100 languages. So we're not wasting time answering emails and phone calls. So let's go to the next slide. I'm going to show you this live. This is kind of a software architecture diagram of what IDA is and how it works. It's really a combination between software that automates design time and runtime functions of a machine learning based AI platform in ODA, or Oracle Digital Assistants. It is then coupled with managed services, because running AI is hard, hiring AI people is expensive. And so if we can fill that need at a fraction of the cost and you can get all the value, we think that's a great opportunity for our clients. And essentially that's what IDA is. We spend a lot of time working on accuracy. Frankly, in the industry of digital assistants and chatbots, this does not get talked about enough. Many solutions out there don't measure their accuracy, and they certainly don't publish data on their accuracy. We don't think that's the right approach. And so because of that, we want to be accountable for our accuracy, and we want to talk about how we're doing, and we want to compare ourselves to the titans of the industry. What you'll see here is our accuracy in all of our clients. Right now, we're above 90% on all clients. We get as high as 96% in some instances. And we want to know how that compares to someone like, Amazon, who's got thousands of people on the Alexa team. Amazon is one of the best, and they're right around the 78% mark. So we're doing pretty good. And accuracy matters, right? Because if you use a bot and it doesn't understand you and can't give you an answer, there's a high probability that you're never going to come back again. So all the other factors are nice to haves, but accuracy is number one above everything else. It's above price. It's above pre-built integrations. It's above functionality. If you're not accurate, the rest kind of doesn't matter. So let's move forward. Usually these digital assistants, there's a couple different ways to think about their value. One is purely financial, right? And so we are trying to replace human beings. Those questions that get asked of human beings, we want to save them time. Human being time is expensive. And so when you compare IDA to a human agent, it's really a no-brainer, right? Gartner has done studies on this. It shows that, human beings responding to a help request is on average across industries 24 hours. Digital assistants are doing it in a couple seconds. Maybe the surprising thing is that you can actually get this technology to perform at an accuracy level that is beating human beings. You don't always see that out in the wild, and that's just because it's not done well. It is certainly capable of that. And as I kind of mentioned before, we're above 90% everywhere. Cost is a no-brainer. This is another Gartner figure. They say the base level cost for a help interaction is $19 per interaction. It could be $200 or more. Imagine you're getting escalated to an HR generalist, or you have to go all the way up to the registrar. Those are expensive interactions that you can replace with automation. And of course, the digital assistants, they work all hours of the day. They handle an unlimited amount of load. And when asked the same question, they're always going to give a similar answer. There's a lot of consistency, which you don't get from human agents. So it is a no-brainer if you get it to work. And we think we got IDA really humming right now. So let's go to the next slide. Just do a little quick ROI calculation. If you take Gartner's number at 19, you take the general cost of about $1. All you got to do is have 5,000 interactions a month, which is pretty simple to do. That's a low number. And you're going to save $1 million in ROI per year based on those metrics. So there's a very clear value proposition here in terms of the financials. What we haven't talked about is the user experience. It is just better. It's all hours of the night. Its accuracy is high. It's fast. I don't have to hunt and peck and click and do web searches. So there's a lot of usability benefits as well. Let's go to the next one, Scott. All right, demo time. I'm going to try to do this in 5 minutes. I need to, let's see, share my screen here. Hold on a second. I'm going to stop your screen. I'm sorry. And I'm going to share this. Can you see my screen? Can someone give me a thumbs up or a yes? Yes. Okay, it's working. Great. All right, real quick demo of IDA. I'm going to do it in the context of PeopleSoft. You can put IDA anywhere, any website, doesn't matter, authenticated or not, but I'm going to show you the authenticated use case. I'm logging into my fictitious student portal here. This is another product we have in what we call the web UX space. I'm not going to talk about that today, but we can, if you're interested, reach out, we can talk about it. So here's a little icon. I'm going to pop up this chat right here. And instead of me trying to figure out where this information is on the website, I'm just going to ask directly. So let's start with maybe a policy-based question, IT specifically. So how about, does Windows need antivirus software? So what's happening here is it's running through machine learning, NLP. What does that mean? What it basically, it's the same way a Tesla can detect the difference between a stop sign, a stoplight, a green light. It's the same kind of technology. It can handle all sorts of variations of language, misspellings, grammatical errors, bad sentence structure, etc. So it figures out what I'm asking and it gives me my answer. This answer just so happens to be sourced from a ticketing system, in this case, Salesforce. So IDA will connect to all sorts of enterprise systems. You could connect to a dozen different systems so that it can source its answers from different places and give you that one-stop shop feel. So in this case, I get a knowledge base article from the IT knowledge base. So that's great. So let's do something a little more specific. This is a student example. I know we have a lot of higher ed. We have all this for employees and managers as well. We can show you that if you're interested. So let's do, what are my class? I'm going to ask this in really broken ways. I'm going to talk like my kids text to me, right? Just to show you the machine learning, how good it is. This is in real time connected to campus solutions. No data, no personal information stored in the cloud. It's an important point. It finds the classes you're taking and returns it right in line. It's not a link to go somewhere else. It's not like click this and good luck finding what you're looking for. It's right there for you to access. But maybe, let's say English isn't my first language and I'm having a hard time being understood by the machine. So let's just switch over to Spanish. Pardon me, my Spanish isn't great, so I know that punctuation is horrible. But IDA is able to detect that I went to Spanish, and now that entire answer and the whole flow is now coming back in Spanish, right? When I go back to English, it will detect that and bring me back to English. So this is pretty amazing. I can support all these languages at all hours of the night instantly with computers and automation. I don't need to hire these people. That would be really expensive to do if I had to hire, bilingual folks. So let's do something a little more complicated, like have my grades posted. This is super interesting because grades can actually come from multiple places. They could come from maybe a PeopleSoft system, but also a learning management system. So if I come in here and I say class grades, it's actually talking to PeopleSoft. It knows my enrollments. Boom, it's pull up my grades. I only took chemistry that term and I got a B, right? But if I ask the question in a different way, how about what grade did I get on my econ assignment, right? It is smart enough to understand that sentence is different than the previous sentence. It knows that econ means economics, and it searches my profile for which economics classes I've taken. So if I've taken more than one, I've got to specify which. I've only taken one, and it's going to confirm 1004B. I say yes, right? And boom, this is just connected to a learning management system. In this demo environment, Canvas, right? So now suddenly as a user, I'm just asking questions and getting answers. I don't need to worry about, is that on the Canvas site? Is that on the PeopleSoft site? Is that on the Salesforce site? All that friction is removed, right? And I'm instantly getting to information I'm looking for. So super helpful. I have more to show, but we're running out of time. So what I do want to show you is a special sneak peek of something we're working on. This is some native integration with GTE forms. So I'm going to sign into a different environment here. This is a PeopleTools 859 environment. And what you can see is, I've got my little icon down here. So I'm going to click on this. And in this use case, I'm going to do an expense report. There's an e-form for expense reports. I don't know where it is. This looks daunting to me. You guys see all these circles down here at the bottom? Like, where would I even begin, right? Okay, no, I'm just going to ask instead. And so let's ask, like, I need to get paid for this biz trip, right? I'm going to use acronyms and slang, right? And so NLP is going to do its thing. And look at that. We found an e-form to help me with expenses. What do I need to do? Well, I need to do a new expense report. And so it generates a personalized link for me. It's talking to e-forms right now. I can click here. And next thing you know, I'm suddenly in the e-form I need to be in. I can fill it out and do my expenses. So you can imagine how powerful that is. You could have dozens of e-forms. Sorry, my connection's a little slow. And I'm right in here, right? I could even, let's just show you one last thing before we hand back for Q&A. How about, maybe I need to update, I took a business trip and I forgot to add lunch, and I got to add it before I submit, right? So I need to update an expense report. What you'll notice here is it's smart enough to know exactly what I'm trying to do here, which is I'm going for an existing expense report rather than creating a new one. And so what it should do is check my file. Yeah, there it goes. Checks my file. What forms do I have out there? And eForms is talking to Ida right now. And look at that. Here are your recent eForms. Here are their titles, the dates they were created, and the status of those forms. It's actually this Nashville trip. I need to add that lunch to, so I'm going to click on that. It's going to find out exactly where that form is, and it's going to direct me there. And I'm inside my eForm. So this is just a sneak peek. This is the beginning of some awesome integrations we're going to be doing between eForms and IDA. So if you're working with us, working with Gideon Taylor, we want to add more value about how our products can talk and work together. So that's a little sneak peek. Wanted to show you that and hand it back to you, Scott. And
actually, since we're, thanks, Andrew, you did awesome. You left 5 minutes for Q&A. Yeah. We don't want to waste that time, so feel free to enter questions in the Q&A. If we don't see a lot, we might give Andrew a few more minutes to chat with Ida. it's really it is really exciting to have a conversation with Ida and just see the kinds of things that you can accomplish there. Just a few success stories here to ponder as you look at things, ways that we've had a big impact across industries and across pillars inside of PeopleSoft. Let's see, looks like we've got a question. This is one for you, Andrew. Will chatbots be configurable like eForms? Andrew
Yes.
already mentioned online, but go ahead.
Yes, like eForms and also unlike eForms. So IDA has a catalog of functionality, questions, and answers that you can turn on. It has the ability to kind of copy catalog items and make them your own. It has the ability to add completely custom stuff. And finally, IDA is able to detect over time questions your users are asking that you have not trained it on how to answer. And it's able to learn those things and encourage you to help it build its knowledge base over time. So you can literally launch IDA, let's say 300 questions, and then over time you can let IDA tell you what you should add to it. And then slowly but surely you'll build up that knowledge base based on what your users want to hear.
Thank you. Great question, Jessica. Let's see, next question. Let's see, Adbird asks, when is GT going to take on data analytics? Haha, like Kibana, since you seem to do so well with extending Oracle PeopleSoft functionality in other areas. That is a great question. I think that, was this a plant? Did someone, no, we are happy to help with data analytics now. And you'll see both data analytics integrated with our other practices. Like Andrew, I know, is just itching right now to show you some of the data analytics that are built in to IDA and that his team generates for IDA implementations. We have data analytics that are specifically designed for GTE forms, and our Newberry team can build Kibana-based and data analytics-based solutions for anything. So yes, we are happy to help. Bring us your data analytics requirements, and we'll see what we can do for you. Next one is, do you plan to build solutions for non-PeopleSoft, Oracle Cloud, etc.? Also a great question. Yes, Oracle Cloud SaaS applications are the main target for our planned expansions. We are working now on looking at GTE forms for Oracle Cloud apps. Our goal is that if you do move from PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud, you'll be able to export your GTE forms configuration and import them into GTE forms for Oracle Cloud apps. There will still be work to do to hook it up to the right places and such forth, but we want to be able to give you a start and to give you a cohesive structure across multiple pillars. Oracle Cloud is our first target, but we will also be looking at other targets. IDA already has connectors to HCM Cloud, and more and broader connectors are on the way with IDA, so that's happening. And Newberry is, well, first off, RPA UiPath works with everything. It's so we can build RPA-based automations for cloud apps right now, and it's a great tool to have in place if you are going through a migration to a SaaS-based product, because that bot can log in and out of multiple systems a lot faster than humans can. And we are also in the beginning stages of building an HCM cloud practice in the Newberry team so that we can actually staff and help you through full HCM implementation or full Oracle Cloud App implementation projects. Okay, let's see. We just hit the top of the hour and we don't have any further questions. Feel free to drop them in. We will wrap now, but we'll stay around and we can answer more questions if you drop them in the chat. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Paul. That I see this stuff every day, but it's still just quite amazing and so exciting. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Yes, we will be providing a recording to everyone that registered. So watch your email for that. And certainly if you have further questions that maybe didn't get answered today, or you'd like to explore more in depth any aspect of this things we've talked about, maybe you were blown away as I am by IDA, RPA, and all those amazing automation abilities that you have, and then certainly all the capacity that eForums has now to make life a lot easier for you. We'd love to talk further, and the best person to chat with about that is our VP of Business Development, Scott Anton. You can see his information here. This will be included in the email that comes out to you. And we would just love to learn more about what you need and how we can help you. Thanks to everybody again for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Stay cool. And we look forward to being in touch with you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.